Hello, folks. Welcome to Homo Politicus on Enterprise TV. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Welcome one more time. Let's interrogate this. Mixed grill in Kaduna State. Governor dismisses El-Rufai'S son's attack. APC suspends women leader. Now, in politics, most of the time, we see and hear only what we want to see and hear, rather than investigating or seeing what really there is. Politicians always exhibit excessive emotional and domestic, I beg your pardon, dramatic behavior. It is known as theatrics or histrionics. In Kaduna State, while the ruling APC has suspended the women's leader there, Mariam Suleiman, for daring to chide the governor, Sani, over comments the governor made concerning debts inherited from former governor El-Rufai, the governor has dismissed El-Rufai'S son's attack on him about the huge debts he allegedly inherited. That must be politics, Nigerian style, on display. And while the merry-go-round persists, governance is warped, if not suspended, and the people bemused. But I think politicians need to be reminded that reputation is a fleeting element in humanity. It takes 20 long years to build it, but a miserable 5 minutes to ruin. Let's have a conversation here. My conversationalists are lecturer, business, and political analyst, Mr. Ken Ikenwa. Ken, I greet you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on, sir.
And he's joined by journalist, political commentator, Emeka Madunagwe. Emeka, I greet you too.
Always a pleasure.
Okay then. Gentlemen, what's playing out in Kaduna is not new to us, or is it?
Well, politics, drama, politics. That's how it works all over the world, particularly in a situation where you have a godfather and his godson seemingly falling apart in under a year. Of course, it had been clear for some time that El-Rufai and his godson, Kaduna State Governor Sani, would not have a very smooth sailing relationship. If you remember that it was reported how the governor rejected El-Rufai'S ministerial nominee. So things started rolling from that point. Then he has tried to, carve his own image, as a peace
Leave the shadows of the godfather.
Yes, as a peace builder, as a peacemaker, as a unifier. That is talking about Obasani, reaching out to different communities, trying to, reach out to Christians to make sure that to just show that there is no need for any religious or ethnic division in Kaduna. And of course, these were not things associated with his predecessor and godfather. So coming to this point, I think the chickens have come home to roost. It's easy to play to the gallery. Obasani, when he was a senator, he was one of those who cheered El-Rufai on. When El-Rufai was busy, interested in taking loans and all that. Shehu Sani, as senator, one of El-Rufai's critics, rejected, opposed. Shehu Sani, Hunkui, and the other senator, I don't remember his name, that they flatly opposed. But Obasani and others supported it. And so, today, the chickens have come home to roost. Obasani is the governor, and the effect of those loans are really telling on the finances of Kaduna State. Now he's crying out. But, you see, you cannot plant maize and expect to reap cocoa. He's learning a very difficult political lesson. And that's why you see that nobody's really giving him a listening ear. Because they say, you sow, you reap what you sow.
What you sow, yeah. Ken, but let's borrowing a leaf from what Emeka has said. Godfathers are becoming substitutes, or so it seems, to democracy. You are either loyal to a godfather or you are not. You are in trouble. River State is telling us more than that.
All right. Today I think I should be laughing in French or maybe laughing in German because I don't know how best
but we
to
must
describe.
understand the laughter.
Yes. We're living in very interesting times in our country. And I always tend to be empathetic with the system and the situation because I believe that, the political landscape is going through an evolutionary process. In our last discussion here, we also talked about, issues that were peculiar to what was happening in or with El-Rufai. And I did mention a concept called El-Rufai'S. So I'm also flabbergasted that today again we are, put together on this platform to talk about another incident that has to do with El-Rufai'S. Now, the beauty of this discussion is that we can now begin to see that the concept I expounded as El-Rufai'S is gaining a national, appeal. Appeal in the sense that it tells us much more about what is actually peculiar to our country and our political system and the need for us to study these issues and to see where they could be shooting us in the feet as a country and to see where and how we can nip it in the bud. Now, if you remember, the last time we spoke, or the last time we were together, we talked about certain pivots that characterize our political system, which we continuously need to have these conversations around. And one was political culture, two was political ideology, which defined political participation. The fourth was the kind of political parties that we have in this country. And rounding up the discussion, we itemized or highlighted political opportunism. But Mr. Maker has taken the words out of my mouth, and so have you. Number 6 for me today is the pivot of political godfatherism. It is a big issue in our country. I don't know if we should accept it as part of the political culture, but one thing we should be happy about is that these dissenting views and these points of contradictory intersections between Godfather and Godson is a beautiful thing that's happening for our democracy. But we also need to trace why we have this kind of issue, this kind of matter in our system.
Do you think there are godfathers in British or American or French politics?
They are, for better words of expression, let's not use the word godfathers.
Okay.
In these advanced countries and democracies, you have mentors and you have sponsors. A sponsor will not necessarily be a mentor. In politics, for the most part, you need a sponsor in advanced climes. But in climes like ours, you need both a sponsor and a mentor, which put together build this emasculating concept of godfatherism. But let's not take a shine away from the subject matter, of today's discussion, which is that a son of an erstwhile governor has the audacity, the temerity to call out a sitting governor who has spoken or exposed some of the things that his father has done wrong. It begs a lot of questions in the society we find ourselves, and I would really extend this discussion so that we begin to look at the different generations, that we have in this country. If I should look at this boy's age, and this is not the first time this is happening with El-Rufai'S sons, all right? I'm sure he's either going to be a millennial or maybe a Generation X or maybe a Generation Z. But I think even those that are millennials in our country today are beginning to behave like those that belong to what we call the Generation Alpha. So we will look more into this discussion as we continue the conversation.
Emeka, the mixed grill in Kaduna State tells me all is still not well. And we are not home yet, as we said there last time.
Of course,
we are very far from home.
Yeah, El-Rufai ordinarily is a very controversial person. And so
But it would seem to be the more controversial you are, the more popular you are with the people.
Yeah, today El-Rufai is not popular with anybody. He tried to ingratiate himself with Tinubu, turned against Buhari, and then whom he vigorously promoted in the north. And Tinubu didn't fall for his, didn't listen to him. Tinubu actually played him out, made him believe that, well, they were together, he would be a part of his administration. But at a crucial moment, Tinubu threw him under the bus. So he has not been able to live down that disappointment. You know, of course, Sani, being a smart chap, has also tried to stay away from that El-Rufai persona. If you remember, there was a time El-Rufai issued a post in which he said he cost the 3 senators from Kaduna. But today, people are now wondering who is the cost one. Because one of the prominent people in Kaduna State, is actually neither here nor there, just roaming about in the wilderness. And it's not looking like he's coming out of it anytime soon. So, of course, the governor was honest enough to have come out to state the true financial position, you know, of Kaduna State. And it shows that really it has come to a point where he cannot keep silent any longer. But for me, I think the governor was also being clever by half, with due respect to him. Now, allocations have increased in the last 9 months, increased tremendously.
To states?
Yes, to states. And I believe that, I want to believe that, well, I don't know, but it's looking like, you know, when governors are leaving, they add a lot of people to the workforce of the state. So I'm asking, could it be that...
Is that a deliberate act?
Well, governors do it. It has become a tradition. It has become a tradition. So could it be that El-Rufai, I mean, I don't have information to do, but could it be that El-Rufai added people to the workforce of the state, such that the governor is now finding it hard to pay salaries even with increased allocation? Otherwise, I wonder what excuse, you know, does the governor have with increased allocation, you know, not to be able to pay the workforce and carry out his obligations? I think there is something the governor is not telling us.
Yeah.
There's something he's not telling us. Because, I mean, it's basic mathematics. When your income increases, it enables you to deal with your debts and still...
Emeka, we hear when income increases, your expenditure increases too.
Well, especially for those who love the good life. You know, they want to spend more on the good life. But ordinarily, for a state governor who is serious, I think Sani needs to get more serious and more creative. Because Kaduna is one of the states that, you know, they thought that, okay, that it has
but
immense potential.
I was in love with El-Rufai, if you ask me, in the course of his job.
No, El-Rufai did something, you know, in terms of infrastructure, things, infrastructure, education, here and things, security, you know, but...
student bursary and all that.
Yeah, but sadly, he got himself into unnecessary enmity with people here and there. He got himself unnecessarily enmeshed in Christian-Muslim divide. Unnecessary.
Needlessly.
Needlessly. So, those are the things that the people who have a beef with him are now harping on to make sure he remains out in the cold.
Ken, but the loser in all of this melodramatic melodrama would be the people, the governed. And the governed in Nigeria hardly talks, or don't you think?
Well, that is an aspect of our political culture. When you talk about political culture, you look at it and look at it from the 3 major dimensions.
Namely?
1, political culture could be participatory.
Okay.
2, political culture could be subject. 3, political culture could be parochial. 4, political culture could be participatory. 5, political culture could be participatory. 6, political culture could be subject. 7, political culture could be parochial. 8, political culture could be subject. 9, political culture could be parochial. 10, political culture could be subject. 11, political culture could be parochial. 12, political culture could be participatory. 13, political culture could be subject. 14, political culture could be parochial. 15, political culture could be participatory. 16, political culture could be subject. 17, political culture could be parochial. 18, political culture could be participatory. 19, political culture could be subject. 20, political culture could be parochial. 21, political culture could be participatory. 22, political culture could be subject. 23, political culture could be parochial. 24, political culture could be participatory. 25, political culture could be subject. 26, political culture could be participatory. 27, political culture could be subject. Now, when it is participatory, you'll find out that a lot of people, a lot of citizens get active. There's a lot of citizen activism in politics, and that's where you see people are able to talk, able to stand up, protest and call out government and call out officials and call for resignation of, elected officials. And you find that high degree of political culture in advanced countries or in more advanced democratic climes. But when it is subject, you find out that in such...
But we're supposed to be a developing environment.
We are developing at 63.
Go 64.
We are developing at 64 in a few months' time. But the kind of culture that is prevalent in our system is still parochial. Parochial in the sense that people tilt more and tend more to their ethnic, religious, tribal elements and fabric when it comes to politics. To elections. And we saw this play out in the 2022 elections.
Man-made.
People felt,
mainly man-made.
Well, whether it is man-made or not, that is the reality of our social structure. For now, when it comes to elections, people would say, I am voting for my brother, or I'm voting because this person is from my tribe. Now, I come from a home that is a dual tribe home, all right? My father is from Delta, my mother is Yoruba. All right, it will interest you to see what plays out.
So you are a crossbreed.
I'm not a crossbreed. I'm not a crossbreed. I'm a proper true Nigerian.
No pun is intended.
But people like me would not have any basis to be tribalistic, because I would neither tilt to the Yorubas or tilt to the Delta. I'm a product of two great cultures, two great tribes, and it makes my political acuity clearer. I see things from a broader perspective. Yeah. And I can't afford to be parochial. That's what I'm trying to say. But you would see that we had so many homes like this. And the last elections brought even divisions in homes. Because people wanted to either vote a president that was either from their tribe or either from their religion or what you may call it. So what we have largely in Nigeria is a parochial political culture. But coming back to the topic of the day, I am more particular about discussing what El-Rufai'S son has done. And why is that so? I'm a lecturer. I deal with the younger generation. And it is important for us to put these younger people, this upcoming generation, put them in the right direction so that we do not have a society, we do not have a system that will implode upon us right in our own eyes and right in our own time.
But this is not to say that the now generation don't have or should not have a voice.
Well, we have a culture. And the culture should not in any way defend what is not right or what is improper.
Yeah.
Okay. The culture
we have a culture as a people, as African people. And the culture does not mean you can't call out your father to say, Daddy, what you have done is not good. But to call out somebody that is as old enough to be your father and be derogatory in your remarks, that is not in our culture.
No, it is not.
No, but another thing I need to say about this matter is that the apple cannot fall farther from the tree. So if the son is behaving like this, it is important that we look at how the father has behaved over time.
Look at the apple tree.
Look at the apple tree. Now, another thing I want to say brings us back to Shakespeare. All right? Shakespeare says the apparel often tells about the man. Let me paraphrase that. It says the way you dress tells the story of your character. Now, I want to expand that to say the way you address people tells the story of your character and tells the story of the kind of family that you have come from. Some of us seated here were born into privilege and born into affluence. And I wouldn't have imagined, some years down the line, that I would come out and speak to anybody that was my father's mate or my father's junior in the Nigerian police, or people that, after my father had retired, had now, ascended to the kind of rank my father ascended to, and call them out and speak ill to them or speak ill of them, even if they are doing wrong. The Alackminis, the Smiths, the Ringings, these are all people that my father trained. And if they ever did anything wrong, there is no way I would have come out to say, oh, Ringing did this, Smith did this, and because maybe they have spoken ill of my father. There is a problem. We are building a culture. We are breeding a generation that will make this country implode further and further away from what the present politicians have done between 1966 and 2024. And that is what I want us to itemize, and that is what I want us to condemn.
Ken, I grant what he has said. I mean Emeka, But there are two sides to this coin. The flip side is looking at the politician himself. I've talked about reputation. You might take 20 years to build a reputation, good or evil. But that reputation can be damaged in 5 fleeting minutes.
Yes, actually, but it's unfortunate that this is happening because no doubt a lot of states are heavily indebted, and the governors of these states are not finding it easy at all. They're not finding it easy at all.
Regardless of the more money coming to them?
Yeah, well, more money coming to them, yes, because their predecessors took so many debts that it's really tough for them. When these debts are deducted at source, how much is coming to them, really? But well, the thing about reputation is it depends on who is being talked about and what the person sees reputation as. For El-Rufai'S son, I think it's characteristic of him to say things that can be...
To rubbish those who come out
to
disagree with his father openly.
I'm looking for a decent word to use, but I think the guy needs...
The child, not the guy.
Yeah,
It's a child.
He needs to be counseled. He needs real counseling. Yeah, because certain comments he made some time back, somebody who criticized his father, those were very deep, and he thinks that people have forgotten some of these things. Now he's
Emeka, your child, your son or daughter, as it were, takes the character molding from the home.
The apple cannot fall farther from the tree.
Yeah.
Yes, takes the molding, but he has to also... I would advise him, if he's watching this, if he watches it, that...
He won't watch it because I'll make sure it gets to him.
He should take note of what is happening to his father now. He's still a long way from where his father currently is. But he should take a lesson from what is happening to his father. What happened to his father first, under Yaradua, that his father had to go on exile, ought to have taught his father a lesson about the treacherous nature of Nigerian politics. But apparently his father didn't learn from that. Then he came back.
Do politicians learn in Nigeria?
Some politicians do. But where they learn the hard way. In his own case, of course, Yaradua made sure that he didn't even give him any breathing space, so he just had to run away from the country. Then, in the case of Tinubu, Tinubu led him on, just like he did with, excuse me, just like he did with many politicians. He made them look like, when he was saying Bulaba, Balablu, and all of those things, people thought, that Tinubu, excuse me, that people thought that Tinubu, he was this, he was that, he had health issues and all of that. But all of those things were just a decoy, like some of his aides said, that they were a kind of a decoy, just to, deceive.
Selling a dummy.
Yeah, selling a dummy to people who thought, that, they will be able to control him and all of that. But at the end of the day, when he got the power and became his own man, he struck and started kicking out those he felt would be a threat. And so that shocked a lot of people. A lot of those who were thinking that they would hold sway in his government. So I think El-Rufai should think for posterity's sake about the future of his family. I'm talking about Nasir El-Rufai.
Okay.
He should think very seriously, because you may have power, wield power the way you like, but let him take note of something. You see, look at prominent...
Power is transient.
Look at the children of prominent Nigerians. Nigerians who have risen to prominence. How many of them have actually risen to prominence like their parents? The other day I was discussing with some people that, let's look at how many Nigerians have actually produced their children as governors. It's only Saraki. Dr. Olushola Saraki is the only one. So
I remember Nigerians like, great Nigerians like the late MKO Abiola.
you can name so many. You can name Nnamdi Azikiwe. You can name Obafemi Awolowo.
Yeah,
you can name different people. Different
on.
people. But where are their children today? Where are their children today? Look at Obafemi, the great sage, Obafemi Awolowo, with everything he did for the West at that time.
Well,
His
the Yoruba country, yeah.
His daughter tried to run for Senate, but what happened? She never won. Tried and tried, she never won.
All right, Emeka, sorry. Ken, let's go to the second leg of the story. The APC in Kaduna has suspended the woman leader, Miriam Suleiman. High-handedness. Or she merits it?
Well, the APC has it's a constitution. I'm not a member of any political party.
Yeah.
It's not for now. So if they feel that the actions that followed the comments and the revelation of the governor, the audacity the governor had to make that revelation, concerning the fact that we thought he was a stooge or a godson that could not address issues as they were, is commendable.
Yeah.
Now, for somebody else to come and see that as an affront on her benefactor, she's entitled to her own opinion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I think posterity will judge at the end of the day who is on the right, side of the jury, of the jury of public opinion. But to give more credence and more life to what Mr. Mika said, I think one of the issues that we should think of forestalling in Nigeria, which is gradually coming up, by itself, is the issue of politicians having a tendency to want to start building political dynasties in our country.
Yeah.
Becoming Machiavellian as well.
Machiavellian,
Yeah.
looking at, it's not just having godsons now. It is that it has started in the next 10 to 15, 20 years, what Mr. Emeka was pointing to may come to fruition. Where you now have governors now sending their children to State House of Assemblies. At least we have, I think, in a particular state, a governor produced a son that went to the Federal House of Representatives and another son that went to the State House. These are...
Sorry, Ken, in one of the states, the former governor is a senator, the wife is a member of the House.
A member of the House. In another state, I won't mention the state, the former governor that was indicted for some things that he did formally now has his daughter at the House of Representatives, and not just having the daughter there, the daughter is the chairman of a key juicy, committee in the House. So these dynasties are coming up. And you may want to ask, like somebody else will tell me, maybe in another session, but George Bush had two sons that were governors, and later a son that was president. You don't compare apples with tomatoes. You compare apples with apples. You can't compare the United States of America with Nigeria. These are two different countries.
If we are aping
so we must reject this.
If we are aping the American type democracy, we must play by the rule of the game.
We must play by the rule of the game, but Nigeria is not exactly constituted the same way America is constituted. Nigeria has not attained the level of economic freedom, of scientific advancement.
We must wait
like
for
America.
We must wait for
If we have to wait, we have to wait.
Okay.
We cannot sit down and condone any one individual who probably has misappropriated funds meant for the public and made himself or herself rich, now forcing and foisting their children on us. This is what is emerging gradually, and this is what we must intentionally guard against.
Emeka is talking about what we know as a plutocracy.
Yeah, unfortunately. But you see, let me just address the issue of that woman leader. One thing, that was left unsaid in her outburst was that, Mr. Governor, go and borrow your own money. Don't talk about what your predecessor borrowed.
Can you imagine?
You go and borrow your own money. That's what you said. El-Rufai traveled to Abuja 500 times to make Sani senator. And I said, 500 times? Is this woman really serious? That if El-Rufai traveled 500 times
I mean,
to Abuja to make Kaduna, more secure. If you have traveled to Abuja 500 times to make Kaduna an economic oasis.
Yeah. So what?
Kaduna would be ranked very highly.
A reference point.
But if you had to go 500 times to make somebody just senator, then how many times did he travel to Abuja to make him governor? And by the way, did he make him? The man went through an election. So if what El-Rufai did was just to ensure that he brought down Sani for opposing the $350 million loan he wanted to take from the World Bank while he was at the Senate, then if that was what he really did for 500 times, then it was a gross, waste of time. I mean, yes, and resources, because Kaduna people actually funded these 500 trips, and that's not what they deserve. They don't deserve that. So what she's saying is okay. What she left on said was, Mr. Governor, go and borrow your own money and all of that. And we've seen that these things won't take us anywhere, because the more you pauperize the people, the more desperate the people become. Look at what happened in Okwama the other day. That is a reflection of a society that has, shed itself of every appearance of decency. I mean, that soldiers could not only be killed, but their hearts were ripped out.
Decapitated.
Look,
the bodies messed with.
We must be worried. And you see, when you talk about human development, the human development index is so bad across states in Nigeria that it has got to the point where Nigerians are ready to do anything. People are being recruited into crime. People are being recruited into despicable acts. So, what do you find? If somebody can spend such time, 500 times to help somebody get a ticket, then who are we? Should we now be grateful to El-Rufai for such a disgraceful waste of time?
I really think that what we should, start doing going forward as we bring the discussion home, is for us to overhaul the political architecture of Nigeria. Not just the political architecture, the intellectual architecture of Nigeria. We need to have a new set of leaders, or we need to have this present set of leaders rejig their thinking process and begin to understand why they were elected and what the rudiments of proper governance actually is. Now, an American diplomat once said that Nigeria is too rich to be poor, but too poor to be rich, which means that Nigeria actually suffers from what we call the good/bad paradox. Bad things are happening in Nigeria today because we have the potential for so many good things to happen, given the avalanche of resources that we have. That is one of the problems. But it reminds me of a European sociologist and economist by the name of Pareto. I think basically what we are seeing in society today is the all-embracing attempts, the do or die, attempt, if we should quote Obasanjo in 2007, for the elites to make sure that they continue to recirculate themselves. So Theodore Pareto has said it. So we are seeing a stage unfolding where it is a play titled The Recirculation of the Elites. So what will the people do?
So the class war is on.
The class war is on.
Yeah.
Semi-structurally. And I hope that the bourgeois will win.
And those at the bottom of the line. Look at what happened in Ogun State some days ago. Criminals hijacked a bus, robbed the occupants, locked the bus, and set it on fire. What were they trying to do? To use the the shock factor. We're still talking of what happened in Okwama, Delta State. Now look at what people. So what it tells is that Nigeria is sinking. But what the political elite care about is just the spoils of office. Nigeria can burn to ashes.
They want to just keep
for all they care.
Themselves, yeah.
Nigeria can burn to ashes for all they care. And this is a woman leader. A woman leader. Is this what she tells APC women in Kaduna to do? So, we're in trouble. Nigeria is in big trouble.
But there's hope.
There's hope if this set of people somehow are eased out of power.
Okay.
I mean, this set of people who just talk about the spoils of office.
Society prepares the crime, the criminal community.
Yeah.
So we're there.
Well, did the society prepare those hoodlums to set a bus ablaze, or did the society prepare what happened in Okwama? Well, to some extent, I'll say yes. Yes, but unfortunately, it is because, values are being eroded, gradually eroded. So all people care about now is just to make it by any means and all means.
Okay.
The politicians are in the survival battle, survival mode. Let's grab as much. While those at the bottom are in a fiercer, more desperate fight to just stay alive.
I must stop you here. The index finger of the producer says stop. So, but let me thank you for your time. Ken Ikenwa, many thanks for your time.
Always my pleasure.
And Emeka Madondagu.
Thank you very much.
We can't thank you enough. And so the debate will continue in your part of town, even as we think about the mixed grill in Kaduna State. Is it okay in your estimation? Is it not okay? My guests are talking about hope. We hope the country will become a better one, but we must work at it. I'm out of here. Let me thank you very kindly for your time. I'm Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye now, until the next time. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.